Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back as always to another edition of Deadlock Weekly, the show where I bring you all the latest news, leaks, esports roundups, and more every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And to start us off this week, we had a Deadlock Fight Night shutdown, or at least a hiatus. They announced this week, quote, "We'll be taking a short hiatus to recharge and reset. Deadlock Fight Night will return in just a few weeks," end quote. And there's something peculiar here. It's not the time off that's peculiar. I've got time off coming up too. I think almost everybody at some point in the summer does. It's the time itself and everything related to it. Why no set date for return is the first question that I have. You'd think that if this were a planned summer break, they'd say, "See you again in 3 weeks," or something along those lines. It's a commitment for all the people who make Deadlock Fight Night. They need to be available to do it, and thus they need to know when it's gonna be. And so maybe they told them internally, who knows? But it's certainly peculiar that they didn't announce it, if they really do have plans to come back in a few weeks. And then the second thing, we're getting suspiciously close to being in a new patch release window if we're not in one already, and we're all speculating that the next one is going to be the big hero update. And I think it's totally possible that Valve tipped these guys off that the update is coming in the next couple of weeks. Given how big a shakeup that update would be, imagine having $1,000 on the line. Everybody's playing heroes that they just played for the first time 3 hours ago. It'd be horrible for the product of DFN and whatever week it would be. And so it makes sense that they might get an intermission that coincides to give the pros time to learn and adjust. And so I've seen a couple of people say it could be trouble with the sponsor, but they still listed Intel as the sponsor on the announcement post, and so Occam's razor isn't always right, remember that. Or they're taking a hiatus due to the issues in the NA competitive scene, and that's possible, but why not just continue with EU? And even still, Melee groups have already retooled and reformed, adding Lord NM and Fishcake to the team this week. And so honestly, guys, this is really tinfoil hatty, but I really do think it's totally possible a perfect storm of the DFN team just needing some time off, NA having a shit show week, and the biggest game-changing patch we've ever had being right around the corner just led to DFN saying, "We'll be back when the dust settles." As I'm saying this, I'm realizing that maybe, I've got enough legitimacy now to maybe reach out to these folks and see if they've got any further comments. So when big stuff like this happens in the future, I'll see if that works for me. It'd be cool to hear from members of the community kind of on this community show. So now I just need to think of these ideas before 3 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, which definitely isn't when I'm recording this. And next, guys, we had a total conversion mod that brings Deadlock's predecessor, Neon Prime, to life. That was announced this week. It's called Prime Lock, and it completely restores Neon Prime to its former glory, including its maps, heroes, and matchmaking support even via Discord. It's going to be releasing soon, and everything you need to get up to date for when games go live is down in the description. Shout out Lamorite and all the Deadlock modders who made this happen. This is like so beyond impressive. I mean, this is the type of stuff that keeps our community alive. This is incredible, guys. So well done. And can't wait to see where it actually goes. Then, guys, we also had some player test surveys make their way into the game while you're queuing this week. These surveys have come out, and they ask you a few questions about your experience while queuing, and I just love these. They're a great little addition. I wouldn't be against also even just a longer survey that takes a few minutes to complete every week, a weekly check-in kind of thing. Now, guys, some people have also noticed that the surveys sometimes ask you about items that don't exist, and people are wondering if these are leaked new items, and we've had the cap on already this episode, and anything's possible, but I'm 99% sure they're not. Valve just released the item rework update not very long ago, and while I'm sure we'll continue to get a new item here or there, the vast bulk of them are in the game already, and I've seen screenshots of 10 plus new items, and I'm almost positive that these are leftover items from Neon Prime, and the survey is just kind of mistakenly choosing them. It's a survey issue, not the fact that there's items in the game that shouldn't be. And so it's picking out old artifacts from Neon Prime, not new things that are yet to be added to Deadlock. Then, guys, we had another under the hood patch this week. Yoshi mentioned that there are some comeback value changes and that this change is going to be listed in the next patch notes. And tinfoil hat back on real quick. The past few times Yoshi has said this, the patch notes have come out pretty shortly afterwards, and usually in less time than it's already been. And I'm not saying that the new hero patch is coming out next week, but it's really hard for me to predict that it's not coming out before DFN returns. If I had to guess and put a real prediction down, I'd say the week of the 7th after the 4th of July weekend here in the States. And I say that and I kind of feel like an idiot conspiracy theorist, but it's been almost 2 months since the item rework came out. We're officially due for a big update soon. And so, week of the 7th is what goes on my ticket, but I'd be surprised if it's not out before Deadlock Fight Night returns. And then, guys, the next thing that I want to talk about is kind of just the current state of the game. I've seen a lot of people just really kind of not happy with this patch, and I've got some weird feelings on it that I think I can kind of clear up here. And first, I complained about the matchmaking changes they made in the past week, but I've really come around on this. The quality of my games has actually been a lot better this week, and stay with me here. Stay with me. I've had a lot more games that aren't decided by one person who's playing a different game than the rest of us, whether that means that they're 20-2 or they're 2-20. A lot more games where the losing team is a lot of 7 and 9s and not just people feeding, or there's one guy on the winning team that's really holding them back from winning the game. More people are using comms, my rank's been going up, and so we'll start there. The thumbs up on the matchmaking change. Whatever you did, that was the right play. But where things really go off the rails for me is these kill reward changes. I'm not quite sure yet if Valve fucked this up or if everybody's just overreacting, but I feel like I'm playing Marvel Rivals. Everyone is just fighting constantly. 2 people are fighting over here, 5 people are fighting in the other junk, 1 person is killing Walker for free because everybody's trying to fight somewhere. And in my games this week, I've just been left to run around and defend the other 2 lanes while my team deathballs in between jungles in the blue lane. And I just really don't like that. I thought we had established that these deathball metas before 15 or 20 minutes was bad for the game. I really enjoy the ebb and flow pacing of the game. Fight, objective, farm, and so on. Not just fight, push, 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 fight, run, run, fight, push, 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 run, everybody's dead, mid-boss is down, the game's over. And then everybody's just screaming at the one guy for not being in the end game fight, but that guy's been the dude left to clear objectives the whole game because nobody else is doing it. And this is a personal anecdote of mine, but it's really impacted my playstyle, like me personally. I think a lot of us know that I like to play Calico and Lash, and I maintain that Calico is still busted, but a big part of my playstyle is ambushing out of position enemies, and now with how aggressive almost everyone is being trying to get those kill bounties instead of jungling, no one's out of position because everyone's just pushing with 3 of their teammates. So that's been really tough for me. I think they need to split the difference because I like that kills are worth more, but like I said last week, the change is just jarring how far ahead people get, and a happy medium needs to be found there. And that said, I do really like that you can no longer deny the souls from a kill or an objective. That was just strange, like a strange gameplay choice where you had a quick time event to earn your reward after you already earned it by getting the kill. I'm happy they got rid of that. And then, guys, moving on to Winrates Weekly, these are maybe the biggest shifts over the whole roster we've had since Deadlock Weekly began, and it's representative of how big the changes were in the most recent patch. These win rates really reflect the meta we're in right now. Gun heroes across the board, they're up. Viper has become one of the strongest win rate heroes in the game. Vindicta and Mirage have had a massive boost, all the while the same heroes we talked about last week continue to have mass exoduses. Anyone that can facilitate a kill easily, Bebop, and even and Krill are having their pick rates boosted. Infernus gained another 4% pick rate overall. He's now almost as popular as Haze, which isn't a bad thing in and of itself, but it just more so shows how strong he is at that moment, right? Because like it's either going to be Infernus and Haze. They're kind of like the simple M1 heroes. The fact that he's gained so much pick rate recently just shows how strong he is. And so this week, more than any, you can see how promoted fighting has become, and I'm just really against that. I think fighting in Deadlock should be done to complete or defend an objective, not simply to gain souls. That's kind of my thesis. And yeah, so I think there's probably some tweaks coming up. I think most people kind of feel similarly that we got pushed at least a little bit too far one way. Some people feel more strongly than others, and I've seen some people say this is a great patch, but yeah, it needs to reel it in a little bit. But so, guys, moving on to our tournament roundup. Obviously, no Deadlock Fight Night this week, but we do have the 1-win bombshell to finish up talking about. Virtus Pro 1 taking home $5,000, 5 weeks worth of Deadlock Fight Night, defeating 1-win, who took home their 3,000 share of the 10K prize pool. And we talked a lot about Abrahams and their dominance of the EU in Deadlock Fight Night the past few weeks, but both Virtus Pro and 1-win disposed of them in 2-0 fashion in the bracket on the way to the finals, and VP made quick work of 1-win in a 3-0 best of 5 grand finals. And this is unrelated, but Counter-Strike Grand Finals should also be best of 5. Finished up watching the Major last week. I just thought I'd add that in. Zergy had the standout performance across all 3 maps, hard carrying as Wharton on map 1. But Empty Dreams from 1-win as Shiv had some really great performance as well, and really was the one who kind of kept them in the game. Definitely not because Shiv's OP. And so guys, let's talk some Deadlock. We had a couple of comments come in this past week. The first one's from Kane. I feel like everybody needs to keep in mind that this game isn't even in its alpha phase and is currently still an invite-only pre-alpha. So while it sucks to lose one of the only two major teams in NA esports scene, there's only so few people in it right now for the pure reason that it's still not even alpha yet. So we keep in mind that things will get better esports scene-wise, and it's not to act like it's doomed or some shit just based off this, because honestly, to some degree, it already surprised me there was even an official esports scene, and again, just to reiterate one last time, it is still in pre-alpha. And yeah, that's one thing that I feel like we as a community just generally really overlook, is that it's a small barrier to entry, but it is a barrier to entry. There are plenty of people who've commented on my videos asking how to get access to Deadlock. It's not an uncommon question that I see, and I still know plenty of people who are excited to come back to this game once it does release. And so I think that's one thing that our community does forget, and the shifting esports scene is something that is really interesting right now, and it's gonna change a lot when the game does go live. And we talked a lot about last week how informal things are, and you hit on that here, but it'll be really interesting to see how it changes when the game does release. I'm really interested to see if certain players are just no longer good enough to keep up with like the massive influx of talent when the game releases, and what orgs are gonna gobble up that unsigned talent. We are in the wild west of Deadlock right now, and beyond even the esports scene, I kind of just hope that people appreciate that, because it's not something you experience a lot as a gamer these days. And then our next one comes from Slayer West, and thanks so much for coming back week after week, Slayer. It means a lot to see people come back again and again. And Slayer asks, do you think the rumors of the summer open beta have weight to them at all, or if in the case the big patch shipping with the open beta, what would you like to see bundled inside it and more? So I talked about this, and I don't mean like me reporting on it, I mean me specifically giving my opinion a few weeks ago, and honestly it was a can of worms that I probably shouldn't have opened. This is a really tough question to answer because Deadlock could absolutely go into open beta today, or maybe right before this patch, and as long as they had some live service elements to keep players engaged, I strongly believe that it would be really successful, especially when you compare it to the offerings today. This is a really well done game. I really strongly believe that Deadlock can have 75,000 plus daily peak players consistently really soon after launch, and I'm not like, there's going to be a massive spike when the game launches. It's going to be insane, and then it'll tail off, and I think like kind of that steady number, I really strongly believe it'll be 75,000 plus. But with the changes that they've made to soul bounties, these are really massive changes, and not the kind that you make when you're close to release, which is contrary to what I've said earlier. Once Valve narrows down those things, specifically the economy, will be really close to release. I totally thought they could have bundled the hero patch in with a map art pass and said, here's the open beta. But I'd be surprised if that were the case now, mainly because I really do think we're knocking on the door of that hero update, and I thought that if they were going to bundle it up with something, it would be a big hero update. And so once the economy is sorted and the open beta clock is back online, because I really think we need heroes and an art pass. And by art pass, I mean, like, for example, like redoing the jungles and making them not just like these weird aliens, like stuff like that. All new models for like Lash. And it's like, once you get that stuff in, it's really hard for me to think about like what the game is missing, you know? Like, what more do you want to add that you would feel like the game isn't complete without? And then a bunch of you guys said that Rabbit should be able to parry after all our talk about Sinclair last week, and I think that'd be a good thing to test. I do wonder if maybe that'd be a little bit too far, but I don't know. Then it makes him a little bit more of a team player, and he's not doing like the Echo Shard. Yeah. Let's at least try. And then, oh my goodness, guys, I almost forgot our videos, if you will forgive me jumping in from the editing chair here. But our first one was Sinclair 101 from Piggy. Sinclair is a really strong but underutilized hero, so if you've been looking to pick him up or just get better, definitely take a look here. Some great hero guides on this channel. And then a funny Lash highlight video from Just Venom came out. Just great gameplay, funny moments, and all that goodness. Then we had a new Deadlock and Load coming in this week. Enjoyed that one at work or on my walk, as always. And then Deathy put out a video this week, how to counter gun heroes. Certainly something that, given our current meta, is worth taking a look at. And then, guys, one quick personal announcement. My travel plans for the 4th of July next week are still a little bit up in the air, so there is a small chance that Deadlock Weekly comes out next week on Monday at 6 p.m. and not Sunday. So if you don't see it on Sunday next week, just know it'll be on Monday. But I hope you guys have had a fantastic week, and you will have a fantastic week this week, and I will see you again next weekend. Peace.